I mean, I think the biggest talk of the week, Counter-Strike is getting a sequel.
Who knew? Oh my goodness.
What in the
Counter-Strike 2.
world? Talk me through this.
I think I could be wrong. Maybe I'm getting my timeline and my information wrong, but I think this was rumored or supposedly leaked at a stage.
Yeah, like earlier this month, there was someone saying,
yeah,
Counter-Strike 2
you're
is
right.
happening.
It was like an insider or someone saying like, no, Counter-Strike 2 is real. It's coming.
But
like
even then,
summer.
it wasn't clear if it was Counter-Strike 2.
Oh yeah, it was just something.
There was debates on whether it was like, oh, they might just call it Counter-Strike and move it to Source Engine 2. You know, Source 2. But they've literally gone and no, this Counter-Strike 2.
It's Counter-Strike 2.
Despite being the 5th game in the series?
I think.
What is it? Counter-Strike 1.6 Source.
Then Global Offensive. Yeah, so but there is an in-between one. It was like a single player Condition Zero.
Condition Zero, that's the
There's
one.
There's like an in-betweener somewhere. I don't know.
Guess what? They all have Dust 2.
Well, we'll get to it. But yeah, Counter-Strike 2, as we said, is a sequel. It is as far as I understand, a free upgrade if you own. I mean, Counter-Strike's free to play, but you generally can pay cash to have it sort of separates the free to play and I'm getting my words jumbled here. When you play Counter-Strike, okay, when you do matchmaking, you can choose to filter games by like a complete free to play player base or like premium player base. Those are people who have like quote unquote bought the game. And I think the idea is that Counter-Strike is a competitive shooter, so there's obviously a lot of talk about hacking. So, what's to stop you?
They expect if you paid for the game, you don't hack?
No, well, it's more thing of if you're a hacker and you get banned, you're not just going to like keep buying the game. If it's free to play, you can just make a new account, no problem.
That makes sense.
So if you got Counter-Strike, you'll get a free upgrade to Counter-Strike 2 when it does eventually launch. The game obviously will be very similar to its foundation because it's Counter-Strike. You don't want to mess too much with the mechanics and such, but I think the most drastic changes are coming in the form of some gameplay things and most notably maps and visuals. Like one of the biggest things that comes to mind, for example, is that smoke grenades now, I think because of the ports of the new engine, they can do actual smoke physics or whatever. So it's quite cool.
Yes, I did see the video on that. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, so what's quite cool is that if somebody smokes an area, you can actually shoot the smoke away, which is like what an interesting little gameplay thing.
I saw in the video it was like one player shot the smoke and the other player had like an AWP ready and was ready to like take out anyone behind the smoke.
Which is like it's a subtle thing, but in term, again, competitive shooter.
Smoke also fills spaces now, so if you chuck it into like a pipe, or like that, like underground pipe thing, it will fill that pipe and not like bleed out of it. So you can't. I guess it will fuck with people because some people are like, oh, if I throw smoke into this corner, it's going to bleed into the other room as well, and like obscure vision there. Now it's like not going to do that.
Yeah, so I'm quite keen to play around and see, how it's actually implemented or what the applications are in game. But to go back to Dust 2, there was a blog post or video that spoke about how maps are being changed, and there are 3 tiers. It's like, some maps are getting completely overworked. Not overworked. Reworked. Some maps are getting like subtle changes, whatever, and some maps are being like untouched. And you best believe Dust 2 is not being touched.
Oh yes, it's the fucking classic.
And I'd argue that Dust 2 is like one of the most balanced maps like in gaming by default. So it's quite cool that they acknowledge that. Like, we're not going to mess with it. You can enjoy Counter-Strike 2's new physics and whatever, but the vanilla map is still there. And they do say that there's still a lot more to come. So I don't know what that means. Like, are there new weapons? Are there new... I mean, I'm sure there will be new maps, but in terms of what that content is, I don't know. But I think this game is like officially launching summer. Which is like 2 months, 3 months away. So there's a limited play test happening.
This week, isn't it?
Yeah, so if you play Counter-Strike, you might have an invite. I know they said there's a lot of factors are going to dictating who gets access. So like, have you played recently? What your hours are? What's your Steam status like? Do you have a good track record? Which you might have one, so good luck. But yeah,
Would this? I'm curious now. Like, because of all these mechanic changes, do you think this is a good time for someone to jump into Counter-Strike?
yeah, I mean, I think Counter-Strike has always been a great. I mean, there's a reason it's been around for like what 2 decades
Sure, so
now. I'd
long,
say
yeah.
because
More probably.
the actual gameplay loop is just really, really good and smart. Like, if you don't know what Counter Strike is, it's basically terrorists versus counter terrorists. You get
Round based.
round based. Terrorists have to plant a bomb. Counter terrorists have to defend a bomb site or defuse the bomb to win the round. And getting kills or winning the round nets you money, and that's what you use to buy things like armor and grenades and weapons. And it's just such a good gameplay formula. It's easy to understand and like the classic thing, difficult to master. But I think if you wrap your head around Counter Strike and you learn the fundamentals, like it's still one of my favorite games of all time. I mean, I've played it through all these iterations you touched on earlier, and I'm definitely going to try Counter Strike 2 when it comes out.
I think it's just daunting for some because it is like the shooting model is quite unforgiving. Like
It is.
I mean, you watch any Counter Strike player, they're like crouching when they shoot.
This isn't a Call of Duty, and you're right. It's a thing of you need to break a lot of muscle memory of a modern day shooter because Counter Strike is a lesson in when you see someone, you need to stop and shoot.
Yeah, moving and shooting is not a thing you often do.
Yeah. But if you can wrap your head around that, it's also one of the more gratifying games. Like nailing headshots or winning rounds can be some good stuff. So yeah, I'm keen for the sequel.
Nice.
So that's coming.
So yeah, that is coming. What else? Okay, here's your weekly Blizzard Microsoft Activision check-in, but it's kind of a big one. There's obviously three big hurdles for Microsoft to cross with this deal. It is the FTC, which is the American Competition Commission, the CMA, which is the UK, the Competition something authority, and then the EU, which is the EU.
Damn. Full stop.
There was always this idea that the CMA was the biggest hurdle.
Yeah.
Like the CMA was always going to be Microsoft's biggest one, and if they managed to get past the UK, the FTC likely didn't have like a case to stand on, and the same for the EU. So, the UK's here it is. Competition and Markets Authority has reached a provisional conclusion. This is according to Eurogamer. That Microsoft's bid to take over Activision Blizzard will, quote, not result in a substantial lessening of competition in relation to console gaming in the UK. Now that's huge. They've basically just ruled that should Microsoft acquire Activision Blizzard, they do not foresee it tipping the scales too much in Microsoft's favor for anti-competition, which is basically them saying they approve of this deal with respect to the new evidence of Microsoft's incentives to make Activision games available everywhere. So they are still somewhat... so the CMA's amendment to its provisional findings relates only to console competition and not cloud gaming services, while it continues to carefully consider the responses provided. So this would indicate why Microsoft has been so aggressive with making deals with cloud providers, because basically this is the CMA saying, we think on the console front you're good, but on the cloud gaming front, we still are not entirely certain that you might not have a monopoly there. And that makes a bit more sense because PlayStation's role in cloud gaming is far less than it is in the console gaming market. So I think that's why Microsoft is hitting up every cloud platform under the sun, making them these 10-year deals. Yeah. So this is a preliminary decision. The final decision takes place on April 26th. The EU is meant to give its findings, I think, early May. But basically, an analyst who spoke to Eurogamer says that this swings the pendulum back in favor of the deal completing, which, according to analysts, has always been the case. They've never kind of said that this deal was kind of done. Piers Harding Rolls from MP Analysis says, my long-term view of this deal has always been that it would be complete, but with further concessions from Microsoft to smooth the process. However, the provisional phase 2 findings of the CMA did give me pause for thought, considering the structural remedies proposed. Remember, those were the proposition that the CMA gave, was that Microsoft sell off Call of Duty. Like, that was their solution, and everyone was like, "What? If that is your remedy, then this deal is not going through." Like, says today's updated findings swings the pendulum back in favor of the deal completing. Importantly, the change in stance on lessening of competition in the UK console market means that the requirement for structural remedies is substantially less relevant, in my view. It now just remains to be seen how Microsoft and the CMA deal with the concern around cloud gaming services. So yeah,
major update.
The FTC obviously is trying to take Microsoft to court later this year over this deal, but if by that point the CMA and the EU have ruled in favor of Microsoft, I think once the CMA and the EU rule in favor, Microsoft will just close the deal.
Yeah.
Like, they won't even give a shit about the FTC. They'll be like, "We'll see you in court, whatever, but we're closing this deal. And you can try and sue us after the fact." And I don't think the FTC is going to. So, I mean, when the FTC brought forward their court case, analysts and lawyers, they were already like, this is a very weak case. And this was before any of this happened. So,
good luck.
Yeah, I think this is now like within the next 3 months, this deal's done. By June, I think Microsoft would love that. Could you imagine this deal closes just before the E3 showcase? That would be big.
Yeah, because you could literally then at E3 just be like, "Oh hey, Diablo
Blizzard
4,
games coming to Game Pass."
This all on Game Pass.
Like there was that news story where Rod Ferguson said, "Oh, there are no plans to bring Diablo 4 to Game Pass." And it's like, well, yeah, fucking course he's going to say that. Like,
until the deal's through.
There's no way they can say yes or no to that until the deal's done, because that will just show, like, that would also just put like pressure on Microsoft, being like, see, they're putting all these games on Game Pass. See,
yeah.
I just do wonder what this means for Sony now, who have apparently rejected so many deals for Call of Duty that Microsoft had just stopped speaking to them.
That is hilarious.
I think last week there was a report that said that there's no ongoing communication between PlayStation and Sony with regards to a Call of Duty deal. And now the UK has just ruled in favor of Microsoft. Like, what is Jim Ryan thinking?
I don't know. PlayStation this generation have been disappointing.
They genuinely might have fucked something up here. Like, I don't think they're going to pull Call of Duty from PlayStation ever, because it makes no financial sense for them to do so. But they could have maybe signed a 10-year deal that could have given them some sort of assurance to have it on like PlayStation Plus or, you know, and now they don't have that. And now there's no reason for Microsoft to offer it either.
Even on that, I'm like, it wouldn't look. Obviously, Microsoft would make more money if people, you know, paid and bought the game. But the reality is, Call of Duty has a lot of microtransactions which will print their money. It's just the thing of making sure as many people as possible are playing it. So if you give it away on every bloody platform, who cares? You're going to get people buying Battle Pass. I mean, look at Warzone alone. I'm sure that makes a mint of money. So sorry, Sony. I don't know what they're doing this generation, but it's been weird to watch as like don't tell me, like, as a predominantly Sony fan. It's just wild.
Yeah, I don't think we're alone in saying that this Sony feels a lot more like the PS3 Sony as opposed to the resurgent, very consumer-focused PS4 Sony.
Well,
I just don't see them like that anymore.
As someone who works on Xbox, though, I'm loving seeing all the good stuff Microsoft's doing.
Microsoft is firing on all cylinders now. I just do agree that this is now cool. You've done all this. You've bought all these. The big games need to start coming. They need
this is
to
the
start
E3.
hitting.
What year we are now? Like, this is the year. This is the one.
They need to start coming out, and they need to start being big games.
I do think, though, all that said and done, this is in fact the year. Well, I sincerely hope so. We'll see.
Fucking hope so. There's so many things, and we cannot go to another E3 of like no shows from games we've seen and just announcements for new games, and it's just like, okay, well, what are we playing this December? Like, Phil Spencer already acknowledged last year was bad for them. Like,
they had like nothing last year.
So they really need to figure things out this year.
Xbox
is hoping to launch a mobile game store as early as next year. Phil Spencer says the Activision Blizzard deal is critically important to the strategy. So Phil Spencer says that Microsoft is likely to launch an Xbox-branded mobile gaming app on both Android and iOS. And this is mostly possible because of the Digital Markets Act, which allows both Google and Apple. Oh, whoa! This allows Google and Apple from barring this sort of thing on their platforms. Previously all apps had to go through the App Store, or all apps. You couldn't have your own app marketplace on iPhone that didn't link up through the iStore, or the App Store. So that is coming into effect in March 2024. So I suspect you'll see this app soon after that.
Nice.
Phil Spencer did suggest that Microsoft would be able to spin up such a store pretty quickly once the rules allow it. The company already publishes Xbox and Game Pass apps that would be pretty trivial to adapt into storefronts, Spencer said. So
nice.
yeah, I mean, the Activision Blizzard acquisition is big for this because this is where all the King games would live.
Yeah,
probably. And so you would have stuff like Candy Crush, Call of Duty Mobile, and Diablo Immortal underneath that sort of umbrella. So yeah,
that is some big molar. It's on those games alone. Cool. Let's bounce. Let's just tick these off quickly. So Resident Evil 4 Remake is out this week. If y'all enjoying it, it seems so because it has set a concurrent franchise record on Steam. It reached 140,000 concurrent users as of time of this being published, and the numbers. Oh, maybe by the time you read this, the numbers will be bigger.
Who knows?
But good on Resident Evil 4 Remake. Also, on that, I don't know if this was known prior to this.
No, this was just like out of nowhere announced. Yeah.
So, if you don't know, Resident Evil as a franchise, since I think the very first Resident Evil 3 has always had a Mercenaries mode, or a little optional extra for you to dig into after you've rolled credits.
And play as Tofu in Resident Evil 2. It's great.
And Resident Evil 4 Remake is in fact getting a Mercenaries mode, which will release on April 7.
That's pretty cool. I've enjoyed the mercenary modes in the remakes, not so much the RE8 got a mercenaries mode. Didn't really enjoy that. I just don't think that first person mode is not ideal for that sort of thing.
I think the last Mercenaries mode I really sank my teeth into was Revelations 1 on the 3DS at the time, and Revelations 2. Like, I put a lot of time into both. Like, I'd say probably more time than I actually spent playing the campaign. It's good fun.
Yeah.
Shall we bounce to the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle graphic novel, The Last Ronin, will become a Dark God of style video game? What is
this sounds super cool. Sorry, I'm just dealing with a feline here.
Oh my god, that cat.
This sounds really cool. Like, I'm not familiar with this comic at all, but I did some reading on it afterwards, and it seems to be it's a fairly recent comic, which is set in the future where there's only one turtle left. Yeah, so The Last Ronin tells a markedly different Turtles tale from usual, set in a grim future where 3 of the 4 superhero turtles is dead, along with Master Splinter. The remaining turtle, whose identity is only revealed at the end of the book, acts as a lone avenger, taking down the Foot Clan across New York. So that sounds like, oh my god, cat. That sounds like a really great setup for a single-player, third-person action adventure game.
And I assume
that sounds cool. Yeah,
you'd bounce between those 4 sets of weapons because you don't know. I
guess so, because otherwise it'd be very obvious who you're playing as.
Yeah, this screenshot, it looks like there's a sword, a staff, and a
stick.
I mean, if you want to really get deep into it, at the bottom, it seems there's a fork poking out there. That's cool.
What those things are fucking called. The ninja forks.
Uses it to fight crime and eat his food.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's cool. The game is reportedly several years from release, and its developer is currently being kept a secret, which is strange.
Interesting.
Yeah,
but that's coming. Santa Monica.
That's cool. Could you imagine? Oh my goodness.
My goodness.
That's pretty cool. I'm keen on that. That's like a different take on Turtles, and citing God of War as an influence, probably for the combat perspective, is pretty neat, I think. What else? Oh, Lego 2K Drive is a new Lego game that looks like Lego Forza Horizon got a game. essentially.
mean,
Well,
Forza
so
Horizon did
Polygon
have,
Forza,
yeah,
yeah, they had multiple
that,
expansions with
yeah,
Lego, like phenomenal. They're really really good. But yeah, there were a lot of hands-on previews accompanying the announcement of this game. It basically seems like the races play out almost like a Mario Kart. You've got like power-ups in the races
nice.
that can do all sorts of things, and you've got different terrain types that your car shifts between automatically. So you know, how, like in Mario Kart, when you got to like a zero gravity section, your car's tires would like whoop, and they
Yeah.
would just like. So the Lego thing does that. Like if you do hit a ramp and go into water, it will like into like a
Okay.
boat and then
That's cool.
like transform back into an off-road thing. And yeah, but then it's got the open world structure between races of a Forza Horizon, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
This game's out soon. It's out in like May.
My goodness.
I'm fucking keen for this. This looks great.
It looks cool.
That little mini map in the bottom left looks identical to the one in Forza
It
Horizon,
does.
to the point where you could mistake this game for that.
It's a Forza expansion. Let's just call a spade a spade.
Am I the only one who hates that 2K likes putting their fucking name in the name of games?
I hate it so much.
Like Lego 2K Drive. Just call it Lego Drive.
Yeah.
Like who the fuck cares? Like,
or
I hate
look,
it.
if you're gonna be that person, put it at the front of the game. 2K Lego Drive.
2K
That's
Lego
cool.
Drive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
Don't
just like Lego
slap it in
2K
the
Drive.
middle.
Like
Yeah.
what? Yeah.
Because my first thought was like, what is this? 2K resolution? You know,
Can you imagine the sequel? Lego 2K Drive 2.
And now we've set off the path of Fast Too Furious. It's cool.
Oh my god. Oh god.
And then
Yeah, but
last,
that's cool. I'm keen on it. Yeah.
it looks very cool. And then last two pieces of news. Ubisoft.
Okay. Yeah.
Ubisoft is testing an AI tool that writes NPC dialogue. I laugh because Jeff made a comment in the Discord this week saying it'll be what did he say? I don't remember his exact words, but it made me laugh. It's like it'll be better or worse than what he says.
Oh no, that was me.
Was
I
that
was
you?
like, yeah, that was me. I was like, you can't convince me it isn't robots writing some of this dialogue already. Yeah.
Yes.
Like, come on.
That's
I mean, I'm not
great.
trying to be disparaging or mean to writers at Ubisoft, but you know, they've probably been given a job and they have to do it. But whatever job they're given, a lot of that writing in the NPC realm and the like description realm is just so fucking robotic and boring, and especially in a lot of their most recent releases. So yeah, maybe this will be an improvement. Who knows? I think people get very, 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 very scared when they see things like this and don't really realize what it actually means.
Yeah.
For example, I use AI on my day-to-day job all the time. Guess what? It's made my life a lot easier because like I have an AI that can predict code that I still have to look over and make sure it does what I need it to do, but it saves me having to type it all out.
Yeah.
You know, and it 9 times out of 10 predicts things pretty well. You know, it's not making me lazier. It's just making me more efficient.
No, but I think that's what the discourse should be. It's not a thing of like, oh no, AI is coming to steal our jobs. Like, no, AI will just make our lives easier.
It should just enhance your jobs.
Remember when you used to have to write things by hand, and then Microsoft Word came along? I don't know. Was the discourse there like, oh no, Pen's days are doomed?
Imagine when computers release, they're coming to take typewriters' jobs. No. Yeah. Listen, I think there are definitely ways where AI can be used nefariously to try and replace writers. I mean, it's happened at like CNET where they're like, oh, we got AI to write these articles. We don't need writers anymore. That's shit. But it was very clearly shit because a lot of those articles were bad and wrong. So like, I think used in the correct ways, you can definitely enhance the quality of something using AI. But at the same time, do I trust Ubisoft to do that? Maybe not. Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
And then last news.
one.
EA is pulling Battlefield Bad Company games in 1943 from stores. So if you don't own these games...
This originally included Mirror's Edge, and people were like, why?
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like, what is it in Mirror's Edge that you need to take offline? Like...
yeah, because it's no multiplayer. So you're not paying for servers or...
Exactly. I mean, this is still shit because this, again, just flies in the face of preservation. These are games that weren't even digital only. They weren't part of the digital future. They're just like, well, they can also just stop printing game discs. So
Bad Company 2 is one of my favorite Battlefields. What a great game! Like
that game, probably the best Battlefield campaign ever. Like,
and the multiplayer, man, that jungle warfare, I put a lot of time into that. It was a lot of fun.
I only found out this week, I probably knew it at some point, but reminded of it, that Battlefield Bad Company never came to PC. It was a console exclusive.
Really?
Huh. Yeah, the very first Bad Company is not on PC.
That is wild.
Which is a bummer, because I immediately went and looked. I'm like, I should buy these games, especially Bad Company 2, just to keep.
Yeah.
And then I saw it was 400 Rand on Steam, and I was like, are you fucking nuts?
Like, actually, I don't need to preserve this game.
Yeah, I'm good. You can preserve it in your capitalist hell. Fuck that. And then I kept looking for Bad Company, and I'm like, I can't find it. Did they not bring it to Steam? So I Googled it, and it's like, no, it's just not on PC at all.
That's crazy.
So I really like those two games. So it's these games will, the single player components will remain playable. Obviously, Battlefield 1943 is digital only and multiplayer only for PlayStation 4 consoles, so that's dead. They're being pulled from stores in April, so you have a couple of days to go and.
Nice.
Oh wait, in April 28th, so you got like a month,
couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Nice. Cool. And that's it.
That's it.
That's gaming news this week.